co-stars, the borough will save up to 15% of fuel costs benefits of the program, earning fuel volume rebates up to reduce overhaul administration costs. Specials into the service at 10 cents per gallon. This card can be used at any fuel station in your state. A list of fuel sites are attached to the agenda. Motion will be made to proceed with the sale of the leased vehicle number 1, unmarked vehicle, which lease was recently expired. Motion to receive estimates and placed on ad for the paper for the sales of vehicles.
All right, so since it's a work session, we're going to discuss this now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So at the last meeting, I asked for the
Let
top...
me proceed with this first. All right?
Proceed with what?
Let me proceed with a reading.
Okay.
The shredding paper recycling event will be scheduled for September the 29th at Blackfield from 11 to 2. The blue paper eater will be conducting the shredding. Residents must show proof for residents and allow 2 to 3 banquet boxes. Advertisement for the event. Flyers will be placed at local business will be posted on the borough website, Facebook page, and the Citizen Voice community section. A motion will be made to accept the resignation of our current borough secretary, Marcella Starr, from her duties as treasurer. A motion will be made to replace her with Roseanne Calaruso to perform the treasurer duties in absence of Marcella Starr. A motion will be made to accept the review contract with the police commissioner, Mike Flynn, for the Borough Police Department. So let's really discuss with the Wyoming area board with the upcoming school board meeting about the crossing guard increase to equal with other communities in the district. Motion will be made to approve the replacement of the damaged backboards and rims at the Bowling Park. A list of prices of backboards are included with the agenda. Motion will be made to allow residents at 220 East 4th Street to cut curbing to install a driveway. The DPW check the area and see no issues. Pictures taken by DPA are included with the agenda. Motion will be made to decide if the borough wants to go with the fire hydrant adapters for the street sewer sweeper at the West Side COG LSA grant. If received, the COG will pay 85% of the cost of the fire hydrant adapters, and the borough will pay the remaining 15%. The sweeper will be used sweeping and have a cost to the borough, which has not yet been determined. John and Jim have recently completed the stormwater inspection course. They are now certified with the storm sergeant inspection. This will keep the borough in compliance with the new MS4 regulation. The cost of the class was paid by Wyoming Valley Sanitation Authority. The new signs for 8th Street, Monument, and 1st and Susquehanna have been installed. Motion made to discuss how to proceed with the 133 West 8th Street property. Property has been granted to the borough. Motion being made to final acceptance of the property. That's the end of the agenda.
All right, so first off, I'd like to start with, actually it was the first item that you mentioned, the second item, the police vehicle. The last meeting I raised the idea of getting rid of the Tahoe, which is our oldest vehicle by 7 years, and selling that vehicle since it made more sense. Now, Mr. Flynn, why did you say that we should keep that vehicle?
We should keep that vehicle because it has the best ground clearance. We'll get very little money for it, and the original plan in leasing a police vehicle was when the lease was up, we'd buy the vehicle for $1. The miles are low, it can be sold, a new lease vehicle comes in, and it recoups a larger amount of money for the taxpayer.
Okay, so by that logic, are you aware that the Tahoe cannot be used for patrol right now?
And why is that?
I have a letter, an email right here from the commissioner that states the Tahoe is not equipped for patrol use. It does not have a two-way radio at this time. It has minimal emergency lighting. In addition, it also lacks the supplies that are needed to be carried in primary patrol vehicles. At this time, Car 4, which is a Tahoe, he says is for administrative use only when I ask for officers to be driving it.
Okay.
So by that logic, you want to sell a vehicle that officers can use. We have 3 that officers can use by the commissioner's own statement. You want to sell one of those, and then only have 2 vehicles that officers can use for patrol, but have a separate vehicle, well, totally just for administrative use. That's what you want to do.
What I want to do is recoup the most we can for the taxpayer, which makes all the sense in the world, and that was the original idea for.
That's funny
leasing a
coming from this
vehicle.
council, I'll tell you that.
And, well, that would be your opinion, okay? And the Tahoe will be,
Ladies out there in the audience, you're gonna be dismissed out of there. Where's our police officer?
Tahoe will,
I will not tolerate
if it
anything.
needs to be, if you cannot get with Officer Flanagan or with Commissioner Flanagan, you have not had a meeting, you've been in office nearly 5 months, there hasn't been a meeting.
No,
yet.
has Commissioner Flanagan told you that at the time, the first time I tried to meet with him, he said, I can't work that day because I'm doing my other job?
Never
Did
heard
he-
that.
He didn't fill you in on that? Because I have the email.
Mhm.
Did he also fill you in at the time I showed up here to meet him? I called him and said, where are you at? And he said, oh, I'm already putting over my 40 hours, I'm home.
I think that we can have this discussion with Commissioner Flanagan here,
Okay.
so that he
Well,
can.
oh,
frame
wait, but
himself.
he's
And
not here, correct?
He's not here right now, no. He's-
Okay, but his job description says he's to attend council meetings, correct?
Absolutely. Can
So
you
the
tell me
last
where-
2 he's missed.
Can you tell me where he is?
On vacation, he's using paid time off.
Can you tell me what he's doing?
I think he's down in DC, but he's on paid time off, so I don't know.
What he's doing is, he's attending police business meetings in Washington, okay, with his personal time.
So, wait, let's get back to the cars. So you want to take our police department, which is running split shifts now, where they need a maximum of 2 vehicles. You want to take them down and only have 2 vehicles that they could use at a regular time.
If that's what we need for right now, if that's what we have for right now, that's what we.
Right now, we have 3 that they can use. You want to sell the one they
I
can use
wanna
to
sell
keep the
one.
administrative.
Absolutely, I want to sell one.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Anything else to discuss?
Yeah, I do have something to discuss. I wanted to bring up to Bill, that vehicle that he wants to keep, Councilman Flynn, he wants to keep that Tahoe. Him and Miss Smiles, without any approval of council, on their own, send it to Kent's Garage, I think it is here, $1,436 to get the lettering come off the truck of the police vehicle. Now, if you want that on the road, why did you take the lettering off the truck?
Be an unmarked vehicle,
Why?
so that the commissioner would have a vehicle to use unmarked.
Wait, let me go back. Hold on. In addition, now this is all from the commissioner himself. In addition, it is my opinion that marked vehicles can be used during daytime and for public safety and officer visibility. It is a safety issue to have officers in unmarked vehicles. I will call to your attention again. This goes into other nonsense, but basically what he's saying is, you want me to read it? All right. In addition, it's my opinion, marked vehicles can be used for daylight shifts and officer safety and public visibility. Also, as an officer safety issue to have operating a marked vehicle. I will call to your attention again, the special order for vehicle assignments was a temporary one to increase mileage on our oldest vehicle and space out mileage on the newer vehicle barrel replacement. Spacing is now established. That refers to a discrepancy that the commissioner and I had over what vehicles are used during what shift that I'm going to be selling with him this Wednesday.
And in the past, Mayor Boyer had stated that that vehicle cannot be used for police chases because you can't, because it's too top heavy. So like the vehicle, it should be sold. It should be sold, that's it. It should be sold. And this vehicle, this vehicle here that they wanted to sell, it's a 2016, the other one's a 2009. And the other one-
2016,
And you-
and we'll
you could
for all
recoup a
nine.
lot
That's
more of
the
your money.
idea of it.
And what are you going to spend on putting the radio back in the other one?
Radio.
I don't know yet.
We spent 1,400.
Okay, let's get on to the regular meeting.
Hold on, we're not done yet. So, being that this is the work session, I'd like to address the WNEP article, or news story that came out about the sewer fund money being used. At the last meeting, I believe it was Mr. Borzell got up and asked Frank Burek directly a question, stated directly to him, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank,
He didn't state it to me, I answered.
you answered it. He said to you, what is the borough sewer fund used for? And what was your response, if you can recall?
For sewers.
For sewer maintenance and matching of grants is what was said.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go right down the line. Did you, now, Chet,
Right,
Did
go
you
ahead,
know-
I'm looking at some paper. Go ahead, I can listen, I got ears and I.
all right. At the moment that that question was asked, at that time, did you know that our sewer fund was actually used to float the general fund?
We did it every year, we transferred funds from funds to funds. to
From
keep
the sewer
borough
fund.
Operating.
So you did know?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Mike, did you know?
Mike
It
should
took
have
me
known, we've
5
been here
months, it took
for,
me 5 months, first of all, to get the sewer fund. I requested it from Marcella back in January, and I got it in May,
So you,
April and May.
did you
So-
know that the sewer fund was being used
Not
to
until
float
I
the
got
general
the
fund?
general fund. And nobody else knew either because nobody approved it. It's supposed to be
Oh,
approved.
we're gonna get to that, but, Joe, did you know?
No, not being since I just came on board back in January, so.
Van, were you aware that at that time?
At that time, I did not know, but I was informed that this is
Afterwards.
practice.
Okay.
as procedure.
Mike, did you know at that time?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so two of you knew when Mr. Borzel, oh, and the borough manager knew because she's the one who transferred the funds. 3 people sitting here knew when Mr. Borzel asked Frank that question and did not speak up when Frank said, no, that's not what it's used for.
The borough has for many years,
So they, for many years, used other funds. But now when you have a borough
wherever
ordinance,
we had money, we moved it because there was no tax money in the first quarter. The end of the year, your money is gone. First quarter of the year, there's no tax money until about April.
that's why boroughs take out TANs.
That's why you take out TANs that cost thousands of dollars.
What, how
Yeah,
much? Give me a number.
I would say $3,000 to $4,000 in legal fees. Would I be
3,000 to 4,000.
accurate with that, Shannon?
Give or take, I mean, it depends on the amount of the tan you're taking.
Exactly.
Okay, so every other borough does that. They do that. to
Not every
round
other
up-
borough, there's a lot of boroughs. with-
A lot of boroughs that do it, they take out a TAN. Shannon, since we're asking you questions, what would be your percentage ballpark?
Honestly, I don't know off the top of my head, it's not as high as, you know, a regular interest loan.
Okay.
And it's a short-term loan.
It's a short-term loan
It's-
for this specific reason because we're waiting for tax dollars to come in. Correct? Basically is what they take a
Tax
TAN.
anticipation note.
Yeah, TAN. So most other boroughs take that out so that they're not deceiving the public when they institute a sewer fee of $200 a household and tell the public this is what it's used for. And then they have the chairman,
The fuel funds.
then they have the chairman of the sewer committee, Frank, stand here, look at them in the face and say, no, the sewer fund is only used for sewer fund maintenance and for matching of grants. And you're telling me 3 of you sat there and knew that that wasn't true to these people that voted you in office.
What you're doing is twisting it.
I'm not
What-
twisting it. You're What did I twist?
I'll tell you how you twist it. The borough needed the money in the first quarter, the end of the year, and the first quarter.
Because the borough's
And
mismanaged.
it loans itself, the money from that. The money is put back in, and that fund has all of its money back.
Without approval.
And,
Against the borough ordinance.
well, it's because you don't pay much attention until things.
Oh, okay, so the chairman, hold on. So the chairman of the sewer committee doesn't pay attention either then, is that what you're saying? Because you just said he didn't because he didn't know. But Frank Urick, the chairman of that committee, had no idea $130,000 was missing from the account.
I would say that Frank would have been fine with it, because we have done it for many, many years.
He wouldn't have, because he said, he stood here and said, it's not what it's used for.
No, he did not
only
say
did that
that he
to
would
it.
transfer. He
We
did not
could
say that.
pull, she's got it recorded.
He
You
did
can try to
not say that he
sugarcoat
would
this
not
all you guys
transfer.
want. The fact is, you 3 knew, and you 3 should resign, because it's against the borough ordinance.
I will tell you, I will not resign over saving the taxpayers' money. Over doing the right thing and saving taxpayers' money, I will not resign.
I'll tell you, the shame of it, here's the shame of it all. You taxpayers, you're paying $200 in sewer fee per year. $200 per year. Not, and it's been used for the general fund just to pay bills here and there.
The money was
So,
put all back
it's
in
a-
there, Mike.
It was used so they could paint the top.
There was no money missing, there's no money being misused.
It's against the borough ordinance, Chet.
We've been doing it for the last 20 years, 30
Then
years.
it's
Taxes raised, you want the taxes raised? But this is coming in, you're going to have to.
Yeah, because it's gonna be done legally. That's what it is.
Okay, let's get out of the world meeting. Wyoming World Meeting, council meeting for May 14th. May 14, 2018. We please stand, face the flag of our country, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Stephen Alvelka.
Present.
Mr. Frank Burek.
Here.
Mr. Michael Loga.
President.
Mr. Michael Flynn.
Here.
Mrs. Diane Smiles. Mr. Joseph Stoltz.
Here.
Attorney Shannon Craig Lefsancy. Mayor Joseph Donner.
Present.
Thank you. The minutes for the April 2018 meeting are available for review at the Borough office. We need a motion to accept Mrs. Smiles and Mr. Flynn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it, so moved. Reports of the police commissioner, street commissioner, code enforcement officer for the month of April 2018 have been submitted and placed on file for public inspection. Reports and committees. Administration, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion will be made to approve the Commonwealth Fuel Card Program. As a member of the cost stars, the borough can save up to 50% of the total fuel cost. Benefits of the program: earn fuel volume rebates to reduce overall administrative costs, special intro offer savings of 10 cents per gallon, and the card can be used for any major fuel station in your state. A list of accepting fuel sites are attached to this agenda. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Emergency Service, Police and Fire Department, Diane Smiles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion will be made to proceed with the sale of vehicle, police vehicle number 1, the unmarked vehicle, which lease has recently expired. Motion to receive estimates and place an ad in the paper to conduct the sale. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Smiles. Health and Sanitation, Mr. Ear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The shred paper recycling event has been scheduled for September 29th at Flack Field from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. The purple paper eater will be conducting the shredding. Residents must show proof of residency and show and are allowed 2 to 3 bankers boxes. Advertisement for the event, flyers will be placed at local businesses and will be posted on the borough's website, Facebook page, and Citizens Voice community section.
Hold on, do we have
That's
a
the end of
borough's
it.
website?
Yes.
Let's back up.
Who runs it?
I just started it. I can only put news on it.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ear. Personnel, Mr. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion will be made to accept the resignation of current Borough Treasurer Marcella Starr from her duties of the Treasurer. A motion will be made to appoint Roseanne Colarusso to perform the Treasurer duties in the absence of Marcella Starr. A motion will be made to accept the revised contract for Police Commissioner Michael Flanagan for the Borough Police Department.
Can we discuss what exactly is why it's being revoted on, why it's being amended, what was added?
Back in executive session last week, there was some questions and concerns when the labor solicitor had drafted it. There seemed to be some discrepancy on what was supposed to be in and out. Off the top of my head, one of the items was, I believe,
Holidays.
holidays.
Holidays was one item, and then it was the 25 paid time off days that everyone in the CBA gets. So now, we're gonna have a full-time police commissioner that did the job as a part-time police commissioner in the past. Our borough's on the brink of bankruptcy to the point where we're borrowing money from our sewer fund. And we're gonna make this a full-time position, giving over $50,000 and give someone 2 weeks vacation, 25 paid time off, and what was it, 13 holidays? I think it was 12 holidays, something like that.
It was around 12, the
Yeah.
standard.
So
but it
that's
was
what
less
they're
than the
revoting on,
federal
just so everyone's aware.
Ms. Solicitor, I have a question for you.
Yes.
We're going
This
through.
motion to appoint a treasurer, it should be advertised. Why are we, like, I got this
We went through
agenda.
the agenda.
Listen to me,
before,
I got
but
this
I
agenda.
run this meeting.
No, no,
I run this-
you're out of order.
We're not, no, I'm not.
I'm talking.
Point of order.
Listen,
Public
listen, hold on a
property, streets,
second.
and
You're out of
recreation.
order. Hang on, I have the floor.
We discussed this.
No,
were
we
here
did
to
not discuss
that.
it. We're discussing it in this session here, right now. I have a question for Ms. Lipsansky. Why isn't this advertised? Number one. Number two, I got this agenda when I walked in at 6:30 today. Why wasn't this given, like, who made this decision?
I can't speak to the
Who made this
agenda.
decision? Do you know who made this
I don't
decision,
have the
guys?
agenda.
You? You, Jeff? Who made the decision? Shouldn't it be advertised? I don't get this.
It's not required to.
But who made the decision to
Can
put
you-
her name on it?
Can
What
you
I'm trying to say.
certainly, and do a lot of municipalities do it? Yes, but is it required? No, it's up to this council to decide
but when
whether
did
or
council
not to
decide it?
Who
advertise.
decided it? Right, exactly. Who decided? You
Who and
decided?
when?
It isn't deciding it, it's not voted on.
Yeah,
but who
put-
decided to
go
put it
ahead,
on here?
but just for
Roseanne,
transparency.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yes, you can.
I was told to do the job until someone else was
Who
found.
told you that?
I was told by Tamara.
Oh,
And we're
no, it's part of the show. And I was made aware that she was calling people tonight to put you in as treasurer. She was doing it. Now, did she call you?
I found out last week.
Did she call you? Who did she call? She didn't call me. She only calling a handful of people here? There's no transparency, that's the problem. You guys want to get that guy right there because he bet Bob Boyer. That's why.
Mr. Beloga, if it wasn't for Bob Boyer, you wouldn't be sitting in that chair you're sitting in.
Mr. Beloga got more votes in the last election than Bob Warner did, so I don't think he needs Bob's help.
At the beginning, he got, Bob Boyer pushed him for 100% to get on.
Bob Boyer did not do anything for Mike.
Don't tell me.
Rest assured that.
He's not the mayor anymore. He's not the mayor anymore.
We're not worried about Bob Boyer right
He
now.
gave you the $200 short fee.
Emergency and Police Fire Department, Mrs. Miles. Oh, we already got that. Health and sanitation, recycling. That's done, I'm starting. Okay,
We're up to the solicitor report then.
right. So let's just report.
The last item on that page, solicitor's report, I just want to inform the public, at the last meeting, there was discussion from the crossing guards about equal pay and getting their pay equivalent to other municipalities within the Wilkes-Barre Area School District. I did reach out to Attorney Ferrantino, who's the solicitor for the Wyoming Area School District, and he is in talks with them. He indicated in the past the school district had already had discussions and seemed to agree that it would be favorable to get all municipalities at the same pay rate for the crossing guards. I asked him just to, I'm not sure if they voted on it or not, just to give me something in writing confirming that so they can move forward with that. I wasn't comfortable saying, go ahead and issue a different pay until I had something in writing, but
Excuse me, Shannon, could we vote on that tonight, and then we could, if, as
as long as it's okay with the school board.
Yeah, you can vote on it, but I would just phrase it as subject to approval by the school district. They don't anticipate it, he doesn't anticipate it being an issue, but
It never has been.
I just wanted it in writing to provide to everybody.
Thank you.
We did skip over the mayor's report, so I'll get right to that. Thanks, Mike. This month, there was 242 calls for service. One other thing I'd like to address with this police report and the mayor's report is that it's been brought to my attention now. We went
Mayor, you're out of order. We're still on the agenda. You're in discussions at the last.
we went to the
meeting.
solicitor's report, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that was for the month of April?
What's that?
Joe, that was for the month of April? Was 242?
This report's in a different spot, the solicitor, it should be way back at the end there.
Yes, it should
It
be.
got put somewhere in the middle, I don't know.
I vote that.
Okay, all right, whatever, we'll get back to it.
I was just going to shoot, that's why I thought I
That's
skipped.
fine.
Okay.
That was for the month of April?
Yeah, no, I get that, but when she gave me
No,
the
that was my
report,
question.
That's
It was
why.
for the month of April, right?
Okay. Just didn't want to make sure I got skipped over there.
No, you're on the last page.
Got you, buddy.
Public property. Borough and Recreation, Mr. Yuri.
A motion will be made to approve replacing the damaged basketball backboards and rims at Bowling Park. A list of prices and backboards and rims are included with the agenda. Just to let you know, I spoke to Jimmy, and he's gonna see what he could do, and I spoke to the mayor and I had a discussion, and John Pocorni originally put up those banking boards. He may have them, I don't know if he does, he told the mayor that he does.
No, he said he would meet with Jim and look at repairing them with the same type of way to try
Okay,
to save
but-
money.
If, originally I know he made a bunch of them, so whether he has some in his garage or not, temporarily he's gonna make them out of, I told Jimmy to try one and we'll make it out of wood for temporarily while we are going with the, applying for the grant and that money will take care of the bank owners. But that's just to let everybody know what's going on
And John said he'd be willing to meet,
there. Yeah.
and that way him and Jim could work it out and hopefully
Yeah.
get it fixed.
Streets and sewers, Public Works, Mr. Yuri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion will be made to allow residents at 220 East Fourth Street to cut the curb and to install a driveway. The DPW department checked the area and sees no issues. Pictures taken by the DPW are included with the agenda. Also, Mr. Chairman, a motion will be made to decide if the borough wants to go to the fire hydrant adapters or street sweeper through the West Side COG LSA grant it receives. The COG will pay 85% of the cost of the fire hydrant adapters, and the borough will pay the remaining 15%. The sewers, the sweeper would be used will be a used sweeper and have the cost to the borough, which has not been determined yet. Now, I discussed this in executive session with the rest of council, and the fire companies seem to want to do this. There's a few communities that want the sweeper, and they seem to want to control that sweeper. So it's doesn't really give everybody a fair shake. Most of the communities, people I've talked to in other communities with the fire companies and who are supervisors and councilmen, they all seem to want to go with the adapters. Now, they're going to be universal adapters. So why would we want to share that expense? Danny, you're back there. What's the price on one of those adapters? Approximately.
Approximately, I think it was like $200.
Okay.
They wanted to try to go to a cheaper one, but then with the cheaper one, we'd have to get a hydrant wrench for each piece of apparatus.
So what's the use when everybody else has it? So
Right.
this is the best way to go, so everybody knows. Plus, we have a street sweeper, and there's two communities that seem to get most of the stuff for the COGS anyway, and most of the people, this is the right way to go, in my opinion, for the people of Wyoming, is to go this way, so.
Hose company number one, does anybody have anything to say about it?
Yeah, the adapters, like Danny said, they come around $200. Our universal adapters, almost every other website or down towards Kingston most likely has them. However, every department should carry still the national standard accredited adapters. Everybody should have hybrid entries, so we could utilize either or adapter, it doesn't matter.
It's the best way to go there, right?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
like I said, it's universal, it does work, however, even if it doesn't have that specific adapter, we should have that.
And most- And just to clarify, most of the communities, I believe all the communities on the west side are changing to this, and they will all be interchangeable at the same, so you're not waiting for,
If we get this approved, yeah.
yes.
West Pittston on up through Pittston, Erie, they got a grant a couple years ago, they have it. This one would be from Exeter down to Plymouth. Now, there's a couple municipalities that aren't in the COG program, Luzerne, Courtdale, they would be exempt from it because they don't belong to the COG.
Right. Okay, thank you for clarifying both the fire companies. Jim and John have recently completed the stormwater inspector course. They are now certified stormwater inspectors. This will keep the borough in compliance with the new MS4 regulations. The cost of the class was paid for by the WVSA. And also, Mr. Chairman, the new street signs from 8th and Monument and 1st and Susquehanna have been installed. And that's the end of my report,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chairman.
Mr. Urick. Zoning and planning, Mr. Bowler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion will be made to make a decision on how to proceed with 133 West 8th Street property. Property has been granted to the borough. Motion will be made to formally accept the property.
May I just say one thing on that, just so everybody's clear? This was a property, I guess it was discussed in the past. A private citizen owned it, and it was demolished, and there had been talks in the past about deeding it over to the borough. Nothing had been brought up with council in the past because council couldn't do anything with it because there was a lien on that property. That lien was just satisfied on April 19th, so just a clarification.
There's a clean title then.
There's a clean title now, so just so if anybody's aware, like, hey, why wasn't anything going on? Council couldn't do anything.
So that's the property that was rumored to be going to host company number 1, correct?
Nick Solis.
No, I'm
was
saying the
prior
point of
owner.
bringing it over was to then transfer it to host company number 1, correct?
That's the end of my report.
I didn't know anything about that. I really don't care. Because all I know is that property there was problems there in the bank. Whether did they give it to us yet or?
It was, yeah, it would have to be deeded over. The property owner still owned it, but there was still a mortgage attached to the property, so the bank just filed a satisfaction piece releasing that mortgage. If council is inclined to accept it, then we'd have to do a deed, and the property owner would have to sign up on the deed. You guys would have to decide, and it's your decision on whether or not you want to accept it or not.
Mayor's report?
Yeah, to piggyback on that, if you're gonna bring this property in and it's gonna come over, I've spoken with most of the people in host company number 1, and they were all under the assumption that the point of bringing that property over was to get it deeded over to them, and that they could then put up a building on it and get back on their feet after all the misfortune that they had. So I would hope that you guys would still move forward with that plan. I'm sure they could fill you in on how they became aware of that.
Honestly, this is the first and I have nothing against that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this is the first that I've heard that this was supposed to go.
Yeah, I did mention it 2 meetings ago, when I first brought up this property, that it was for host company number 1.
I apologize, Joe, I didn't.
Well,
I'm not saying you didn't, I just
Okay.
don't remember.
I would hope that council would do the right thing, and obviously, it's one less thing on our plate, get them back up and running, so I hope that everyone would transfer that over. Guess we'll wait and see, though. Police report, like I said earlier, I mean, there's 242 calls, it's not out of the realm of things, but again, my biggest issue with the police department right now is the fact that our borough is not in a good place financially. and I know that you guys are going to vote on a police commissioner position. I brought it up a couple minutes ago. I really think that you guys should reconsider that. It worked as a part-time position in the past. I think it would be in the best interest of the residents of Wyoming and the taxpayers to maybe stick with that role as a part-time position, cut the salary back in half where it was. And also, I've already given my input as to which vehicle. So as far as the police report, that's the way I'm going to bring that up, because obviously I wasn't involved or even made aware that police vehicle number 1 would be listed for sale. So the first time I saw that was tonight as well, and I'm the mayor in charge of the police department, so I find that a little bit interesting. But that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. It's come to my attention that there was an investigation done by the police back in 2016, I suppose, on Ricky Sloboda's property. I guess great amount of money was stolen. And so I guess some of our part-time officers did some work on this investigation, and I just ask you to reopen it and send it to the state police and let them investigate it, because there's an awful lot of money involved with this, and I don't know if we'd be able to handle that. Just, I would ask you to open it up, open the case back up, send it to the state police.
Yeah, Mr. Sloboda spoke at this at the previous meeting. I did get the report, and I will move forward with transferring that over to the state police to have them take a second look at it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and I had already spoken earlier about the crossing guard issue. One thing, and I apologize, when we first came out of the meeting, I'm supposed to advise the public of what the topics were that were discussed in executive session. We discussed personnel issues, litigation, collective bargaining issues, and litigation. So I apologize. I was supposed to say that when we first came out, and it got lost in the shuffle. So, yep, that's all.
Okay, the floor is now for the public. Pat Scalon.
Council, Mayor, Joe, right. I have a couple questions. I've been here since the early 90s, and I've been to a lot of council meetings. I want to know why council, majority of council, is so against Mayor Joe on everything he tries to do. I know you have notes.
Has the mayor ever
No
tried to
matter
cooperate
what-
with the council?
Well, you know what? You don't cooperate with him.
No, he never comes to
From
us.
what we see back here, he has tried so hard, and all you do is shut him down on everything. If it wasn't for him, the residents wouldn't know what that shape our town is in.
Mrs. Kalonji, I don't want to say anything, but you've been attending quite a bit of meetings.
Since the early 90s.
Since the mayor took appointment as mayor, you have spoken at every meeting there was.
Yes,
Every
I
before,
have, and you
never
won't-
spoke before. How come? Did
Because
someone write your
you,
scripts for you, or what?
So you're going to criticize someone from the
No.
you know, he's the only mayor since I've been coming that sits at the end of the table. He's the only mayor that took forever to get a key to the building. Mayor, do you have your own phone line here?
No. I have, it's actually funny because I requested a borough email
Yeah.
prior to taking office, once I won the election. Still have not gotten it. I asked for a phone line extension, was told by the borough manager that council's discussing it. Have you guys finished that discussion yet? So no, I
No.
don't have a borough email, I don't have a phone line.
Why do you treat him like this? I don't understand it. And it's a shame. Next year, our taxes are going up because everybody could see the writing on the wall. And what you said about Mr. Beloga, if it wasn't for Bobby Boyer,
True.
If it wasn't for Bobby Boyer, Tamara wouldn't have had a job, Flanagan wouldn't be commissioner.
Appointed by council.
We should go back. Why?
Why?
Why can't we have a police chief like we used to have?
Right, that's for sure.
What's wrong with
Could
that?
I answer that question?
Yes, please.
Because in the contract, it states, to be a police chief in Wyoming Borough, you must have 5 years on the job in Wyoming Borough. We don't have anybody like that right
You have Officer Burke. And when he comes, and he was here.
But I thought we
prior to
had
that.
Officer Merck.
That's fine.
He's been here for a long time.
Amend the 5 years.
30 years he's been here.
now. You have to do that with the contract.
How many cops are residents in this town?
They weren't,
How many
they weren't,
police
doesn't
officers
put their
live in
names
town?
in first, that doesn't put their names in.
There's, the one guy lives across the street, I believe that's it. I believe that's it.
One out of how many?
Well, most of them didn't live on, since John Gilligan, I don't think many have lived in the borough, to be honest with you. They
I
have to
just,
live within-
I just
They have
don't
to live, I
understand.
believe they have to live within a 10-mile radius.
Yes.
I believe that's what it stated.
Mr. Flynn, Miss Smiles, how come you're not saying anything? I mean, everybody sitting here knows how you feel about the mayor.
I'm sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Oh, my God. No, that's okay, she can talk.
Now she is, Mr. Parra, would you, thank you, Mrs. Collins.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have kind of an old issue that I want to bring up. Mike, you stole my thunder. Question first is, do we or do we not have a website that all these voices can be heard without coming here in this room? Can somebody tell me, do we have a website? Yes or no?
We do have a website.
Okay, now, every school, every church puts out a bulletin. Why isn't the agenda published at the end of every meeting? Not sent to everybody, but have copies here that if people want to take it home, they can take it home. There's a lot of voices out here that are not being heard. I think that we should have a website, number one, officially publish it so every one of us, mayor wants to put his own email, that's fine too, but he shouldn't be taking all, we should have a spot where, I don't know what you want to call it, concerns can be listed online and recorded. No more saying, well, I didn't know about this. Oh, yes, you did. It was emailed to us last week by Mr. Parra or whoever. I mean, accountability is by registering each and every complaint to the borough. Then the council meets and decides whether it's necessary to act on it or not. If it is, you bring the person in. So number one, my proposal is that you get a website that's available to everyone. All the announcements are made through that. Everybody has technology now, and we could look. I remember, Mike, about a year ago, I was before the council with an issue, a very minor issue, that I'm not bringing that up again, and I was literally told that, well, we don't know where the ordinances are. The ordinances were so old and decrepit on paper that was from the early 1900s. I said, well, redo them and put them online. I spoke to Jared at the time. So, do we know if they're online yet?
No.
All of the ordinances, are they online where we can look up certain things and we won't have to just, you know?
And I could answer the questions. General Code, the company who was finishing up the codification process, they had sent us a final draft. We have to get back to them in the near future to finalize that. Once we have a final draft, then certainly we could go to the website administrator and ask that they be published online. But we're in the process of finalizing the codification process.
That's my main issue. We need a
Mr.
website.
Mr.
We
Parra,
need,
just to let you know, that was in process about 5 years, okay? The gentleman took 2 or 3 years to do it. In the middle of it, he died, which set everything back. So it was, I don't know if it was halfway done, almost done, but it set things back. And Is it finalized?
It just about is, and it took so long because the gentleman that was working on it was unfortunately in and out with cancer treatments. Ultimately, he died. We had to get a new company to pick up the slack, so.
But this was in the process for 5 years.
Well, again, it's important. We need a website. We need somewhere where people can send in their complaints, their praises, their concerns, and of course, it should be advertised all the time. And a list of the agenda available for all the clubs.
Thanks. Mr. Brazil.
First of all, Chairman, I asked you since November back on about a sidewalk, the handicap ramps. 2 days after last month's meeting, Jimmy showed up. And at least he looked at it, surveyed it, this and that, and he said it has to be done, and said a lot of them that were done in the past has to be redone. I don't know, whatever, I don't care about that. But that part of it, I thanked, at least he showed up, okay? Now, I'll try to get my time in quick. I think I'm entitled to ask the question that I asked last month, Frank, about the sewer fund. I had no clue Mayor was gonna ask a question. Nobody coerced me. I have my own mouth. Anybody that goes to Wyoming Area School Board meeting, I don't have anybody to ask me, or questions for me. I do it myself. I asked you, you gave me the answer. And I couldn't hear back here, so I want to know. Jed, did you know they were using the fund?
Yes, I did.
Frank?
Yes.
So you lied to me.
No, I didn't lie to you, Bob.
You told me, Frank, now this is business, so you can...
Let me explain, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, yes, the sewer, we used the money for the general fund to put, and we not only take it out of there, we used to take it out of the,
Frank, I thought before you said you didn't know.
He did.
I couldn't hear, so I'm asking for myself.
we take it out of the one fund to put it in another, and it gets repaid. It's nothing different than everybody else does with their own stuff at home, all right? So you just take it out, you put it back. The only difference between here and your own home, you don't have to put it back. We have to, and we do. There's not enough money through the whole year. I don't care what year it is, if it's this year, last year, next year, the years down the line. That's the way it's always been done. Whether it's right or it's wrong, that's the way it's always been done, and that's just...
Let me ask another
Yes.
question then.
Now, but that money is only used for paving. It's not like it's used for anything else.
It was used for the general fund. They spent it on every bill that they had.
Does the general fund cover the sewer?
No.
So it wasn't used for sewer though? Sewer work.
Yeah, but original, that's what it's gonna be used, yes. It gets put back in.
All right, now what was the borough ordinance? What is that? That I only part of it was on television, which I had no clue.
Want me to read it?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Section 5 of the Borough Ordinance. All sanitary sewage collection, transportation, and treatment charges received by the borough or its agents shall be promptly deposited in the appropriate borough account or borough's agent account established under its financing arrangements, and shall be solely used for the sewer system's operation, maintenance, and debt requirements.
And that's all it's being used for.
Folks, listen, we can't hear. When I first asked the question, no, listen to me now. This was my own question.
Yes.
I don't care who the hell believes it or not here. This is what? When I was having difficulties with the handicap part, maybe I thought the money was low, because money was low in the borough.
Right.
Honestly, that's what I was gonna ask. Can
Because
you
of
use
taxes.
that, or to repair some of these roads, because they're horrible? That's what you gave me the answer. That was all. Nobody coerced me, I didn't know anything about an ordinance until I saw part of it.
Understandable, but that money goes back, and it is really only used for sewer. I understand what you're saying. Listen, in the past, it's been taken out of Pliget. It's been taken out of,
It's been taken out of where there's no ordinances saying they can't take it.
So as of now, is the balance up to the park?
Yes.
Full?
They just paid it.
Yes.
All right.
If it wasn't for 16.
Don't say it's been,
Mike,
just
did
got
you
paid
know?
last week. It's not like it's.
You said something about,
And the
you got the
50,000 was
agenda,
out
right?
for
Or what?
October to March.
Hold on.
Go on November, December, January, February.
3 minutes.
What?
3 minutes.
Please,
Can I just finish my question?
Go ahead.
First Amendment.
Mike, you didn't know either.
I just found out tonight that it was paid back last week or something.
Okay, Joe, you've only been on a couple of months, did you know?
After 16, it broke.
Diane, because I couldn't hear at the meeting back here. Diane, did you know?
Not until after.
After what?
It was taken out and put back in, and it was shifted around.
How long ago was that?
I'd say
What?
maybe a few weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Mike, did you know?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you think that's right?
I
With
think
all the bad publicity we've been getting the last couple of months, they're all agreeing with it. I'm gonna tell you something. It ain't gonna get any better. This is gonna get worse, and the menu's gonna change. Thank you.
Dale Field.
Thank you for letting me speak, ladies and gentlemen on the council. I'd like to go back a little bit. I'd like to know again, who authorized the monies to be transferred from the sewer fund to the general fund, which is expressly forbidden by ordinance/charter? And who signed the checks, or was it done electronically? Who can answer that? And oh, by the way, who oversees the borough manager who is always missing? She is never here. Why do we still have someone who can't seem to do the job? It is her job to be here to answer the questions that we all have. But she's not here. Whatever. But I'm still waiting for an answer. Who authorized the transfer of the funds? And also, who signed the checks and how many signatures go on a check?
Could you answer it?
Can you answer it,
I
Mrs.?
don't know. I don't
Who
know.
signed the check?
Signatures are on the checks.
Whose signature? Who signs the checks?
I signed one, and she's
She who?
treasurer. Marcella used to sign.
So Marcella, Mrs. Starr, Marcella Starr, and you, Mr. Nowelko, are the two signatures that sign any checks that pay the bills of the borough.
And Mr. York.
And Mr. York. So there are three signatures, or no,
No, two.
two, but three of you in case someone would be away or ill or whatever. Okay, do you think you've all done your due diligence in this matter? Especially with the borough manager? I don't see why we can't have her on administrative leave. I hear you say, oh, well, we'll get sued. But you know what? Other places put people on administrative leave, and there doesn't seem to be any repercussions. We need an independent audit, which none of you should fear. None of you should fear. And is that, we just had one?
Yeah.
Excellent, you're doing your job. But I don't vote for either one of you.
Every quarter.
They're 2 years behind.
But, however, is that going to be made publicly available?
It's always made publicly available.
Really?
Yes.
It's always made public.
It's gonna get better because throughout, after the WNEP report, the governor's office reached out. They are going to be hopefully coming in and auditing everything. To the point where it is. It's my understanding that they can come in with or without council's approval. I would hope that council would approve them to come in. Because there's issues with our police pension, there's issues with our fireman's relief, the way that's handled, and there's issues with our sewer fund. So that caught their eye, and now they're gonna come in and take a look at things, and we'll see where this all pans out.
And as someone who diligently pays her sewer fees and gets a heavy rain and has the sewer back up into her cellar, I'm not a real happy camper that you people haven't tried to improve the sewer system. Because when you have to literally remove crap from your basement, it's not fun. And we've lived in our home for 45 years. My God, I can't believe it. I had dark hair and long and was thin back then. But I pay my bills. I want to know the money is there, and I want to know why you aren't actively seeking grants, or are you?
Yes, we are.
And Mr. Urick, you are our representative on the sanitary authority? Okay, good. Then I hope you'll keep and do your due diligence, because the due diligence is lacking, the transparency is lacking in this group. It's a secret. I understand what you're saying, is we've always done it, but that doesn't make it right. You always change your ways. Now, my last thing I have to ask is, why is our mayor, who was duly elected by the residents of this borough, why does he have to go through and use the Freedom of Information Act to get borough records that should be readily available to him, to you, and you, and you? I know all of you. You don't have to do that, do you? You don't have to go through the Freedom of Information Act, do you, Mr. Flynn, Mrs. Smiles, Mr. Scalds? I don't know about you, Michael. I think you might have to. You, Mr. Yurka, or you, Mr. Noelko. How about you, Ms. Lepsansky? Do you have to? Then why does the mayor? That is so wrong on so many levels. You should all be ashamed of yourselves for being so obstructive. If the people of this borough didn't want Joe Dominic, Bobby Boyer would be sitting there instead. But he's not. And you're taking it out on him, your displeasure, and it's not fair. You wouldn't like it. I know. I wouldn't like it. You need to rethink what you're doing. This is a small group, but we all think of a ripple effect. The stone goes in, and it ripples and ripples. And I'm going to say right now, if we could vote if we could have a vote of no confidence, you'd all be out on your ear. Think about that. And you should be glad that I don't vote for your ward or your ward. Because I wouldn't vote for any of you for it.
Thank you, Mrs. Fu, your time is up.
Oh, you're darn right it is, because you don't want to hear anymore. But I'll be back.
Rick Sloboda.
Well, I know that you've seen me here before, and it's over the same thing, the robbery at my home. Fortunately, today, we have one good councilman that I feel is great, and that's Mr. Beloga right there. Secondly, I want to tell all you people here that the mayor that we have in this town now is one of the best, and I've lived here all my life. And I think he's doing a very good job. I've been a resident here all my life, probably one of the oldest businesses in Wyoming, if not the oldest. I don't like to speak at meetings. Believe me, I don't. And I don't like to come to council meetings, only if there's a reason. I had a fellow one time that worked for me part-time. He got into my home and he sold a lot of money, probably a third of my retirement. Now, that's what you get for trusting people. Be very careful. Secondly, the part that was done, or the robbery, was assigned to Commissioner Flanagan, and also to a part-time patrolman, Mr. Bowman. Well, I went down there and I spoke to them at that time about this. Commissioner Flanagan undertook the investigation with Patrolman Bowman. As it went on, I could see that they were totally, and I mean totally, unprepared to handle this case. It was too big for them. Now, what I did is I said, well, why don't we call in the state police on this, who have far more ability to handle this. Complete refusal by both the mayor, and I contacted him many times. He wouldn't even talk to me. I went back to Commissioner Flanagan. You know what he said to me? He said, you keep coming here, we're going to have you cited for harassment.
Like the lady on 4th Street.
This went on for approximately 2 years. The person who robbed my home, I know very well, and everybody knows this person. It's unbelievable. thank God right now today, if it wasn't for Mr. Bloga, and if it wasn't for the mayor, this would never gone any further. It would be buried. Their insistence of me asking the police to come in on this matter, the state police, they refused time and time and time again. All I can say is, at this point in time, and I've said before, I thank the mayor and Mr. Bloga, and I'm hoping as this goes further with the state police, and I've already contacted one person who's very, very good. He looked at it and he just shook his head. I have a friend that's a state trooper, 3 of them. They looked at it, they couldn't understand it. I'll just go a little bit further. It went to the magistrate level.
Your time's about up.
Just give me 1 second.
All right, I'll give you 2 seconds.
It went to the magistrate level.
Where are you going?
It went to the magistrate level. It was bound over for court. Guess what? The Wyoming police interfered into this and stopped it. I have no idea why this was done. They said I said different amounts. Well, if you had that kind of money stolen from you, you're really not thinking coherently at the time. It's still a robbery. A robbery's a robbery, there's a robbery, there's a robbery. Whether it's $20 or $2 million, it's a robbery. They didn't want to hear anything about it. Finally, I think at this point in time, that being turned over to the state police, I think finally I'll get some action on this. Stay tuned, look at your newspaper. Let's hope things go my way.
Chuck Shaw.
Good evening.
Hey.
So, about 4 months ago, my son came up here and gave you a presentation on Eagle Scout project that he wanted to do.
Yes, sir.
Been fighting for, and I say fighting because he's a 16-year-old. There are some obligations, and he approached me about some things. I said, there's obligations that you are required to do, and it was in the handout that he had provided you. One of them, at the very least, so he knew which way to go, was what kind of sign do you want, and where can we put it at? What you presented back to him was via a letter that we got, unsigned, so I'm taking this to the council to say, oh, it's the borough, it said it's okay, it's on letterhead. But it says the council's approved any design or size you want. That's unacceptable because any size or shape that you want is similar to what happened down the line with Rehoboth's, and it's too big for Department of Transportation, they'll cut it down. So you need to come up with a sign and stuff, but you don't because we're walking away. I'm not going to get in the middle of all this fighting and stuff that's going on. I'm not going to let my son get involved with it. I'm not going to let the scouts be brought down with it or anything else. You guys need to get yourselves together before you can take on something that was given to you. And you can't do it.
Never son approached me on this.
No, sir. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind. We broke the very first rule, which is trustworthy. They're not going to be associated. Thank you.
Unless the communications received since the last meeting have been placed on file with the defense council, would you motion to accept that as read?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Eric and Mr. Flynn.
Excuse me. May I speak on the police question? Michael Jordan, Monument Avenue.
Michael, your name was on the agenda.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Pretty sure I didn't take 3 minutes up there to say what I had to say.
All right, I'll try to be brief.
Here, please put your name on here for our records.
I didn't realize I had a first
Yeah,
grade.
that's what we have up there. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
My first question to you is what will be the total compensation package if you approve a full-time commissioner, including benefits?
It was 50.
Well, if you don't know that, you shouldn't vote on it.
He doesn't take any hospitalization, he's covered under his wife.
Secondly, what has changed that requires a full-time commissioner? Thirdly, if you're not going to advertise it as a new position, it's a major promotion.
It was advertised.
All right.
The full-time police
Based-
commissioner job is advertised?
Based,
The interview for his job was advertised.
No, going from part-time to full-time.
No, I'm talking about the interview we had with him and the police chief, Police Dallas. We approved him becoming.
I've always believed that prior performance is one of the major indicators of future performance. Has the existing commissioner exceeded his goals and objectives? Have you studied the Pennsylvania Uniform Crime Reports to see what the clearance rates and solve rates are for Wyoming? I recommend you do. Is the Wyoming police in accord with the latest police standards from the International Chiefs of Police and the Commission on Law Enforcement Accreditation? If you don't know these answers, then you better table the resolution.
A list of bills paid and received for payments after presented to the council meeting. Motion to accept says Mrs. Smiles. My second. Oh. Good. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
No.
Not done yet, Mike.
No.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Speak up. Nays?
No.
Ayes have it, so, well, let's have a call roll call.
Mr. Stephen L.
Yes.
Walko. Mr. Frank Yurk.
Yes.
Mr. Michael Beloga.
No, because of Kent's Garage, $1,400 that was spent on the Tahoe to take the lettering out of it.
Mr. Michael Flynn.
Yes.
Mrs. Diane Smiles.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scott's.
Yes.
Motion approved. Motion is made to approve application with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Fuel Card Program to save the borough 50% of fuel costs.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Yurek,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Scalz. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it, so moved. A motion will be made to sell a police car number one, which your lease will expire, to proceed with estimates and place an ad in the paper.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Flynn. Seconded by Mr. Yurek.
What
All in
police
favor,
vehicle is
signify by
this?
That's the
saying
Explorer, not the Tahoe.
aye. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays?
No.
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 Vote, please.
Mr. Stephen L. Walko.
Yes.
Mr. Frank Yurk.
Yes.
Mr. Michael Beloga.
No.
Mr. Michael Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scott's.
No.
4-2, motion approved. Thank you. Motion is made to accept the resignation of the current board treasurer, Marcella Starr, from all duties of the board treasurer effective immediately.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Beluga, seconded by Mr. Yurek. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so moved. A motion made to appoint Roseanne Calaruso to perform treasurer duty effective immediately.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Flynn, second. Mr. Yurek, all in favor, by signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Nays?
No.
Vote.
Okay. Mr. Stephen L. Walko.
Yes.
Mr. Yurk.
Yes.
Mr. Beloga.
No.
Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Mrs. Smiles.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
No.
Voted 4-2, motion approved. Thank you. Motion is made to approve the revision contract for the police commissioner Michael Flynn for the Borough Police Department.
Really?
Mr. Flynn?
Table it.
Table it till we do more investigation. I mean, go
I
ahead.
make a motion to table.
No, there's a motion on the table.
Yeah, but I made another motion, you have to do it.
Point of order.
The motion did die, if we accept it.
Yeah, we have to see if there's a second, and then
Is
there
there
will
a
be a
second?
motion to.
No second, motion is dead.
I'll make a motion to table.
Table it over, yes, review the contract. Thank you.
Make a motion to
A
table?
motion made to replace the damaged basketball backcourts and rims at Bowling Park.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Beloga? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? And Mr. Yurk, I'd like you to take charge of that and make sure it's done right with the grant applications. You got the paperwork there, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We're gonna do what we can for right now as far as doing wood backboards until we get this grant. Hopefully, if not, then we'll worry about buying them later. We have to see if we get the grant first.
A motion is made to approve the residents of 220 East 4th Street to cut the curbing to install a driveway.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Yurk?
I'll make it.
Mrs. Smiles? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it, so. A motion to go with the new fire hydrant adapter to the street sweeper through the Board of Wyoming Council, COG, LSU grant to receive COG will pay 85% of the adapters, and the board will be responsible for the 15%.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Yurk,
I'll second it.
Mrs. Miles. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it, so moved. A motion to be made to accept the property at 133 West 8th Street, which has been granted to the borough.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Beloga,
I'll second it.
Mr. Schmaltz. You say we have a clean title on that right now,
The bank filed a satisfaction piece about 2 weeks ago,
though. All right, thank
taking
you.
the lien off the
So it's got
property.
a clean title, so it's all okay. Motion to, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it, so moved.
I make a motion. Suspend the borough manager indefinitely without pay. That's the motion. Suspend the borough manager indefinitely without pay.
Do I hear a second on it?
I'll second it.
Mr. Schmaltz?
They do it every meeting.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays?
No.
No.
Mr. Alonso?
Yes.
Mr.
You
Yurk?
know, she wrote the ordinance and she's moving this down.
Mr. Yurk? Mr. Beloga?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
No.
Mrs. Smiles? Mr. Schmaltz?
Yes.
Vote 4-2, motion.
I make another motion to terminate Cameron Smith Accounting Service from any work in the borough. That's the motion.
Motion on the floor. To who? To what? I didn't quite-
Terminate Tamara Smith Accounting Services from any work she does in the borough.
Motion not to have Tamara do any borough work. Do I hear a second?
From her accounting
Do I
service.
hear a second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Gold.
Mr. Alonso?
No?
Mr. Yurk?
No.
Mr. Beloga?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
No.
Mrs. Smiles? Mr. Schmaltz?
4-2 vote.
I make another motion to suspend the SOAR fee for 2018, and those that have paid already to reimburse them back, because we cannot, as a borough, manage our SOAR fund account effectively.
There's nothing wrong. Heard the motion, do I hear a second on it? Do I hear a second on it? Do I hear a second on it? Motion dead. Motion to adjourn.
I have another motion.
A motion to adjourn. It was already called, it was already
No, you
called.
can't do that. You can't do that. I'd like to make a motion to give my, Commissioner Flanagan a 6-month warning to lay him off, because we cannot afford the commissioner, and so that's the motion.
Do I hear a second on the motion? Do I hear a second on the motion? Do I hear a second on the motion? Motion is dead. Motion to adjourn? Mrs. Smiles and Mr. Urick. Motion adjourned. Thank you people for coming to the meeting.